What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Existential Stoic podcast, quick fix number 34, staying
Woo!
focused. Yeah, we're getting there, huh? Today, we're talking
Man, we are
about
getting there.
3 tips from each of us for staying focused. We're going to do this quick, less than 10 minutes, just give you some ideas how to stay focused because this is something that's important. I think people are more distracted now than ever.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah. By the way, I'm Randy. That's my buddy Danny. And today I'm dressed like a pirate.
Woo! I like the pirate outfit.
Yeah. So uh, I will start. And for staying focused, basically, this is uses the word focus and FOCUS, follow one course until successful. And this is
Oh, I like
something
that.
that, yeah, I've heard it so many times from so many successful people. They say that like we literally have the ability to do anything, but we can't do everything. And the problem with most people is they get distracted. And because they get distracted, they're not able to do what they would be able to do. And so this is something that I've heard from a bunch of successful people. And it's always, you have to just follow one thing because it's so easy to get distracted, especially once you're into it for a little bit, you get bored. And then it's like the next shiny thing. And you just go from shiny thing to shiny thing to shiny thing. And at the end of 10 years, you have nothing. Whereas the guy who just did one thing and stuck with that one thing until he was successful, then he can do whatever he wants because he's successful. But also at that point, he can move on to something else. So that's my first point. Follow one course until successful.
I really like that. I like that, it's obviously using focus and, giving a word for each letter, which is always nice because it's easy to remember. But I think it's also absolutely right. You got to stick. It also tells you to stick with it. I think it's a great way. People should go back to our episode, Don't Try, and look at that as well. I think that gives them some more insights into why this is important. So that's a great one. It's a great first one. My first one is limit distractions. And what I meant by this is I think, what the thing probably most of us struggle with is screen time, and particularly like social media, scrolling through just endless videos, endless images, endless like little clips of text and whatever. And all of that gets, it gets our emotions up. It gets our, we get angry, we get frustrated, we get stressed, or we just waste time. And I think scheduling that time, learning how to manage it is probably one of the most important things to staying focused. Whether you give yourself an hour, at say 10 to 11, I can look at it or something, or whatever it is. And if you don't think you waste a lot of time on it, I would definitely recommend download or use one of those apps that tracks your screen time and look at how much time you're spending using it, and you will be surprised at how much time you're wasting.
Yeah, I mean that's such a valid thing because people literally waste their whole entire life on scrolling through nonsense. And I think better than using one of those screen time apps is actually writing it down. So like how I
Oh
write
God,
down
yeah.
all of my finances, and because of that, it allows me to track it on like a very granular level because I know every day everything that I spent, and I can look back every week, every month, know everything I spent. And so I know all the money coming in and going out. And really, if you want to see how much time you're spending, like everybody always says, "Oh, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time." And that's
Oh
such
God, I know.
nonsense. It's the most BS story you'll ever tell because if you just track all the time that you're scrolling on Instagram or on Facebook or any of these or TikTok.
or or binge watching TV shows, dude. It's like there's so many ways we just waste time, and just it's so much. And if you could just cut an hour of that out to do actually focused work or focus on something you want, I mean, yeah. And
Yeah,
I think
Danny,
you're right. I think
you don't even need an
yeah,
hour. Okay. So
no,
you know how we always talk about how we read a lot and like reading
yeah,
definitely is life changing. Without a doubt, it's life
oh
changing.
yeah.
The average American reads one book per year. Do you know how many minutes a day you need to read one book per year?
I'm gonna
1 minute
guess
per
like five
day.
seconds.
One
Oh,
minute. For
okay.
every minute you read per day, you will read that many books per year. So,
That's
yeah.
that's an interesting thing. Yeah, it's a 1 minute too. Think about that. That's absurd. And like, the amount of time wasted then. So yeah, I think you're right. I think I like the idea of writing it down too. And that's kind of what I meant by scheduling, is like keeping it tracked, because it's like once you realize how much time you're devoting to it, all of a sudden it can be easier to step away, I think, sometimes too, and realize that, like, is this really what I want? Is this really helping me? And like, it's just a distraction.
Yeah, because then it gives you a choice. So that's a really great one.
Yeah.
Uh, my second one is a form of prioritization. So this is something that I've
Ooh.
said many times. And the first time I heard it, I was just like, this is awesome. So basically, you need to prioritize and you make three categories. You make A, B, and C. A is the most important, C is the least important. So you take everything, you put it into categories: A, most important; B, kind of important; C, not really important. And then throw out C and start working on A. The problem is that most of us spend all our time working on C because it's pleasurable, it's addictive, it's not that hard. We don't really have to put in that much work. And the really important stuff is the stuff in A, and it never really gets done. But if you figure out what the C activities are for you, throw those out, and then work on A, you're going to get done the most important stuff.
No, and you're right. If anybody does listen to the show regularly, right? I mean, Randy sounds like a broken record with this. I know, but it's super important. No, it is. And I just wanted to say, like, I mean, it's so helpful. I've done it myself. And like, you realize how you get stuck on these easy things because it feels good to complete these small things, but you're not doing what's hard, what's going to benefit you later. And you're not really focusing on what's important. You're not focusing on what's going to, you're not giving yourself time to focus on what's going to actually help you accomplish these bigger tasks. I,
Well,
I
like
love that one. I think it's
everybody,
really good.
everybody wants to live this exceptional life, this like 1% life where they're a
Yeah.
millionaire, they have their Bentleys, their Rolexes. Everybody wants to live this exceptional life, but they're not willing to do the things that exceptional people do, and that's the issue. Like it's almost guaranteed. You reap what you sow. If you do the actions of a successful person, you'll be successful. Yeah.
Well, I think to that point, I think everybody can do it too. I think that most people just block themselves in some way. So this is, we'll lead into my second one because this is supposed to be short. Uh, so my second one's work on one thing at a time. And what I mean by this is, to stay focused, you have to realize that everything else can wait. That's, I think, one of the most crucial things to learn is that when you're doing something, if it's important, everything else can wait. It doesn't have to be done now. If you have the notifications on your phone, turn them the hell off, shut your phone the fuck off, turn off the TV, get rid of that stuff. And if something comes up, it doesn't have to be, an email doesn't have to be answered right now. Text does not have to be answered this second. Obviously, if it's an emergency, that's a different situation, but most things in our lives are not, and they can wait. And you need to focus on what you're working on now. And that is like one of the best ways to keep focused. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's like everything else.
Yeah, and it can wait. And like the actual number of emergencies in life are so few
Yeah.
that like everybody's planning for the emergency, and really emergencies are so few. So you just need to, and plus when it's an emergency, it's not like you're that critical. Like, let's be honest.
No,
You're not that essential. It'll
no.
get worked out because eventually one day you're going to die, and then stuff's going to have to get worked out without you anyways. So, yeah.
And it
No.
will.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
problem. It will. Things will
Exactly.
move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my last one is something that I learned when I was studying in school, and it was you have to plan a start and a stop time, and then during that time remove all distractions. So that has two important parts to it. One is planning the start and stop time, because most of us are just like, I need to do this, and then we sit down and it's like this big daunting thing, and we think we have forever to do it, and because we have forever to do it, it never gets done because we're distracted on Facebook and blah blah blah. Whereas if you have a start and stop time, ideally less than an hour, and then take a break for 5 to 15 minutes, and then do that over and over again if you need to. That way, you have a start and a stop, and you have to actually focus here, or else it's just not going to get done.
I love that one too, because it's like that's the most common thing I see too in like college students, and I did this myself, is that procrastination, right? You have a paper due or you have a big assignment due, and you're like, well, I still have a week. And a week seems like a long time, or I still have, it's not due for 3 months. And it's like you're not really thinking about it correctly. You're pushing it way to the end. And it's like, yeah, creating those start and stop times is a great way to like help you focus and help you keep on top of stuff and get it done correctly.
And
I
then
like that.
removing all your distractions during that time. So
Yeah.
not even having your phone on or near you. And that way
Yeah.
you completely limit your ability to go do that stuff.
What I love about that too is that once you start doing it, like people get so nervous at first. They're like, oh, yeah, I can't have my phone on me. What are you talking about? It's like once you do it and you realize, hey, it's okay. It's fine. Like it gets easier and easier to do too. And I think it's like we make these things out to be so dramatic when they're not.
Mhm.
Um, I think this goes to my last one too. So my last one is, and it's a little counterintuitive for staying focused, but when you're stuck with something or on something, when you're working on a problem, you hit an obstacle, you hit a barrier, do something else for a little while. And my favorite thing to do is go take a walk. Gaining perspective, giving yourself a break, I think is really helpful sometimes for staying focused. Because sometimes if you just sit there and just try and like, you just kind of grind through it, you end up actually making things work, you slow your progress. And sometimes your brain needs a chance to sort of process things and think through it and look at things differently. And I think so, you know, when stuck, doing something else is really important.
You got a great point there. Like all the brilliant minds, they always figure stuff out in the shower. And it's not because there's anything magical about the shower. It's just that they actually stop focusing for a minute and allow themselves to kind of relax and it all bubbles up.
Well, that's it. It's funny. I think like Nietzsche said, like great ideas come when you're on a walk. Like when you're active doing something in the world, not when you're sitting there just like rah, trying to get through write the paper out, write the sentence out, or whatever.
Mhm. Awesome. So that is it. Nice and short, maybe a little bit less short for you today, but nice and short, staying focused. I'm Randy. That's Danny. Make sure you check us out on YouTube on all of the podcasts, like, subscribe, also follow Danny on Twitter and all that fun stuff. We'll catch y'all later.
Yeah. All
I'll
right.
see you later, Danny.
Later, Andy.